I just watched some of Club Shay Shay interview with Kamala Harris, and it got me thinking about how we as Black people, again, this is a conversation that's for Black people, and anyone else is welcome to listen and hear what is being said. But overall, this conversation is not for you. Um, as Black people, I realize that there's always pride that we take in accomplishing things and being the first in a role or achieving a certain status of something. But as I've moved through corporate America and gotten higher and higher in different roles, I realize that sometimes to attain those roles, there's a real trade off of whose mission are you accomplishing in this role that you have. So when I hear Shannon Sharp introduce Kamala Harris and just lay in all these accomplishments, she was this, she was the first this, the first attorney general this, the first prosecutor this, the first in the state, the first woman, the first all those things. I'm not discounting anything about anything, but I realize that after dealing with the uh, jail and prison industrial complex in a very direct way recently, I question sometimes why we give credit to people for achieving specific roles or attaining specific roles if it is possible that the actual what's the word, agenda, the actual agenda that they performed or did with that role was something that was counterproductive for people that look like them. And so I know that in corporate America, one of my uh, lines at some point got drawn because morally I just felt like something I was being asked to do wasn't something that I was comfortable with in general. And, essentially I was told at this level, these are the kind of decisions that you have to make and why they have to be made, et cetera, et cetera. And it really just made me think about how many people we put or Black people get into different positions of power, and we are lifting them up as the example of who to strive for, what to strive for, but we really don't know what agenda or better yet, whose agenda they are really following. For example, with me again at corporate, it was rarely my agenda. There was some areas where I had flexibility to do a little bit more, but it was my boss or my boss's boss, my manager's manager, or all the way up to the CEO whose agenda I was following. So when you see someone who is placed in or elected into these high ranking positions that require a tremendous amount of money and support and all of those different things, I think it's important that we at least question throughout the history of this person, while they have had these roles and been the first and all these different things, how did they get those roles? One, and whose agenda are they really supporting while in those roles? Because I think there's a lot to be said about how many people who look like us get elevated to positions of power and are lauded as the example of what to strive for, but are actually accomplishing the agenda of the enemy of people who look like the people that are celebrating that person for being in that position. And I'm not calling anyone out or saying anything specific, but I realized when he was listing off all those accomplishments of those roles, they weren't accomplishments of changes or accomplishments of inaction or accomplishments of things that actually impacted people from what he listed. Not to say those things don't exist, but I realized how easily we have become impressed with just attaining some of these roles, even if you're not using that power that you've attained to help people who look like us. So just a thought I'm having at 2 fucking a.m. on October 30th.